everyone, welcome back to NoteLab Mode. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Cloutfit.ai. So if you're someone who, loves to see what influencers are wearing and wants to get their hands on those same pieces, Cloutfit.ai is making that a reality. They're actually connecting influencer outfits directly to product inventories, so you can shop those looks instantly. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So for businesses out there, it's a really smart way to boost sales and get more value from those influencer collaborations. You can find out more by visiting their website, cloutfit.ai. That's CLOUTFIT.a-I. All right, so let's get into it. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the world of consumer-facing generative AI applications. And we're basing this on some really interesting research that was released just recently on March 6, 2025. So, this is giving us a real-time look at what's happening right now.
It really is.
Like what's grabbing people's attention and where we're seeing the biggest momentum building. It's incredible how fast things are changing in this space.
I know, it's like the whole landscape has been redrawn in just the last few months. It's crazy.
I know, and this research really shows just how fast things are moving. So I guess a good place to start would be with, the big name. Everybody knows ChatGPT. I mean, its initial growth was just unbelievable, right?
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely normal. I mean, when it first came out as a research preview back in November 2022, it just exploded. It hit 100 million users in just 2 months. The fastest any consumer app has ever done it.
Yeah.
A totally unprecedented start.
I remember that. It felt like suddenly everyone was talking about ChatGPT and trying it out, seeing what it could do.
Exactly. It was everywhere.
But then, the research shows that after that initial boom, things kind of leveled off for a while.
Right. Yeah. Between kind of March 2023 and April 2024, we saw global monthly visits were pretty flat. Maybe the novelty wore off a little bit. For the average person, it wasn't immediately clear how they could use it every day.
Yeah, it was like that shiny new toy that everyone wanted to play with, but then it kind of got put on the shelf for a bit.
Yeah, for a bit, but the story definitely doesn't end there. The research shows that recently, ChatGPT has had a huge resurgence in growth.
It has. So what happened? What changed to make it so popular again?
Well, it seems that, it took about 9 months for ChatGPT to go from 100 million weekly active users in November 2023 to 200 million in August 2024. But then in under 6 months, it doubled again to 400 million by mid-February 2025.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible when you think about it. That kind of acceleration at that scale, it's really remarkable. It suggests that something fundamental has changed in how people are using it.
So it's not just people rediscovering it.
No, definitely not.
There's got to be more to it than that. So what's driving this renewed interest?
Well, the research points to a few key factors. First off, OpenAI has been constantly improving ChatGPT. They've released a series of more advanced models with a wider range of capabilities. So as the AI became much more powerful and crucially more versatile, people started finding more compelling and practical reasons to use it in their everyday lives. This rapid scaling we're seeing really suggests a fundamental shift in user behavior. People are becoming more comfortable relying on AI for everyday tasks. It's not just a novelty anymore.
Right.
It's becoming genuinely useful.
Okay, so it sounds like these improvements are a big part of it, but the research also highlights some specific product milestones that seem to have had a really direct impact on usage.
Exactly.
Can you talk about those a bit?
Sure. So, for example, in April-May 2024, there was a big surge in usage.
Okay.
And that coincided with the release of GPT-4ao. Now, this was a big deal because it introduced true multimodal capabilities.
What does that mean exactly?
So it means you could actually talk to ChatGPT naturally. You could show it images and get instant intelligent responses.
So like I could take a picture of a math problem, and ChatGPT could not only solve it, but also explain the steps to me.
Exactly. Or you could use it for real-time brainstorming. You throw out ideas and get immediate feedback. It really made ChatGPT much more intuitive and useful.
That's a huge step forward.
It was a game changer for a lot of people. And then a few months later, in July, August 2024, we saw another jump in usage.
Okay.
And that was linked to the launch of advanced voice mode. This made AI conversations so much more natural, almost like talking to another person.
So it got rid of that kind of robotic feeling that a lot of voice interfaces have.
Exactly. It removed a lot of the awkwardness and friction, making it much more appealing for people to use their voice.
That makes sense. And then there was another boost in the fall of 2024.
Yes, in September, October. And that was when OpenAI debuted the o1 model series. These were some significant architectural improvements that really enhanced ChatGPT's reasoning and problem-solving abilities.
So it wasn't just about making it easier to interact with ChatGPT.
No, not just that. The underlying intelligence itself was getting a major upgrade.
That's fascinating. It's really interesting to see how these specific updates directly translated into more people using ChatGPT.
Yeah, it shows how important it is to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
Now, what about mobile? How has ChatGPT been performing on phones and tablets?
Well, mobile has been a bit of a different story. The growth there has been more steady and consistent right from the start. Since the app launched back in May 2023, they've seen a pretty consistent increase in monthly active users between 5 and 15% every month.
Wow, so people who were using it on the web were also keen to have it on their phones.
It seems that way. And according to industry estimates, around 175 million of their 400 million weekly active users are now using the mobile app.
So mobile is a big part of the picture.
Oh,
So
definitely.
ChatGPT is clearly a dominant force in this space, and they're showing no signs of slowing down.
Not at all.
But the research also highlights a new player that's entered the game and is making waves. DeepSeek.
Ah, yes, DeepSeek.
What can you tell us about them?
Well, DeepSeek has made a remarkably fast entrance. Their public chatbot only launched on January 20th of this year, 2025. And incredibly, within just 10 days, it had climbed to the #2 spot globally in terms of traffic for AI products.
Wow.
#2 in the world in just 10 days. That's unheard of. It really highlights how dynamic this market is.
So where did DeepSeek even come from?
It was developed by Highflyer, which is a Chinese hedge fund.
Okay.
And interestingly, a lot of its early usage, about 21% in January, was from China, which makes sense because ChatGPT isn't currently available there. The US and India were also big early markets with 9% and 8% of traffic, respectively.
So it's interesting that geography played such a big role in its initial success.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It's also worth noting that DeepSeek itself has been banned or restricted in some countries, including South Korea, Australia, and Taiwan, and even on government devices in some US states.
So there are some geopolitical factors at play here as well.
Definitely.
So how does DeepSeek's user growth compare to ChatGPT's in those early days?
Well, DeepSeek reported reaching 1 million users in 14 days,
Okay.
which was actually a little slower than ChatGPT's 5-day mark, but then it sped up and surpassed 10 million users in just 20 days, which is much faster than ChatGPT, which took 40 days to reach that milestone. So it's like it had a bit of a slower start, but then really took off.
And they launched a mobile app pretty quickly too, right?
Yes, they did on January 25th, and it followed a similar trajectory to the web platform. Within 5 days, it was already at number 14 for monthly active users. And by February, it had climbed all the way to #2 on mobile,
Wow.
capturing about 15% of ChatGPT's mobile user base in a very short time. It's clear that mobile is a key battleground for these AI companies.
So they're giving ChatGPT a run for their money.
They definitely are, especially on mobile.
But how engaged are DeepSeek users compared to other AI apps?
Well, the data shows that DeepSeek users on mobile are a bit more engaged than users of Perplexity and Claude, at least when you look at metrics like the average number of sessions per user and the total time spent in the app each week. But they're still behind ChatGPT in terms of overall engagement.
So ChatGPT is still the king of engagement for now.
For now, yes. But it'll be interesting to see how that evolves as DeepSeek continues to grow.
So what do you think is driving this rapid adoption of DeepSeek?
Well, a big factor seems to be its performance on various reasoning benchmarks. It's been getting a lot of praise from the tech and AI research community. And then there's the cost factor. DeepSeek reportedly cost just $5.6 million to train, which is significantly less than what many of its competitors have spent. And that generated a lot of buzz and media attention.
I can imagine. Low cost and high performance, that's a winning combination.
Absolutely. And some even called it a Sputnik moment for AI development outside of North America. Like a wake-up call that China is a major player in this field.
Right, and that kind of attention can definitely lead to a surge in user interest.
Oh, for sure. And we saw that reflected in Google Trends data. Global search interest for DeepSeek briefly matched ChatGPT on January 27th, and even surpassed it in the US for a short period.
So it captured the public's imagination.
It did, at least for a little while.
It's amazing how quickly things can change in this space.
I know, that's so dynamic. One minute you're the hot new thing, and the next minute there's a new kid on the block.
Okay, so we've talked about ChatGPT and DeepSeek, but the research also delves into another really exciting area, AI video.
Ah, yes, AI video.
It's an area that's been generating a lot of buzz for a while now, but the last 6 months have seen some truly remarkable progress, both in the quality of the videos being generated and the level of control users now have.
It's really exciting to see. We're starting to see some new names popping up in the web rankings.
Like who?
Well, there's Hailuo at number 12, Kling AI at number 17, and Thora, which was perhaps the most highly anticipated at number 23.
Okay, they're joining in video, which is currently at number 37. And then just outside the top rankings on what they're calling the Brink list, we have Runway and Crya. So a lot of new players entering the scene.
Yeah, it's getting crowded.
Now, you mentioned that Hylio and Kling are both video models from China.
That's right, and the research notes that they've actually overtaken Sora in terms of web visits. They have. Hailu, which comes from Minimax, and Kling AI both launched in the second half of 2024, and by January 2025, they'd both surpassed Sora in monthly web visits. Now, Sora was actually previewed much earlier, back in February 2024, but it wasn't publicly released until December 2024, so it's likely that its later release date played a role in those lower web traffic numbers in January.
So it's still early days for Sora,
It is.
but it sounds like the AI video landscape is becoming more diverse.
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing this fragmentation of video model providers. And they're starting to differentiate themselves in terms of their specific output styles and the user interfaces they offer, which is great for creators because it means they can choose tools that are specifically tailored to the kind of videos they want to make.
So, like, what are some of the strengths of these different providers?
Well, Sora is known for its versatility. It's a good all-around video generator. Hailu is particularly strong in accurately adhering to the text prompt you give it.
Okay.
And Kling offers some really cool features, like enhanced control over camera movements and improved lip sync capabilities, which are crucial for certain types of content.
So it's not just about generating videos from scratch anymore.
No, not at all. AI is also playing a big role in video editing. Absolutely. It's actually one of the top consumer use cases right now. And it makes sense. AI can streamline so many of the tasks that used to be really time-consuming in video editing, like cutting and tripping, adding captions, and all sorts of other enhancements. It's becoming more and more common to have these one-click solutions powered by AI.
So who are the big players in this space?
Well, on the web, we have Veed and Clipchamp. They're both ranking really high. And on mobile, we're seeing a lot of these hybrid video and photo editing apps, like B612, VivaCut, and Filmora. They're leading in terms of overall usage. But interestingly, when you look at the top revenue-generating video editing apps on mobile, the leaders are Spice Captions and VideoLeap.
So there's a difference between which apps are used the most and which ones are making the most money.
Exactly.
It's fascinating.
It is. It suggests that there's a segment of users who are willing to pay for more specialized editing features on their phones.
And what about the future of AI video? The research mentions Google's VO2.
Yes, VO2. It's not publicly available yet, but early reports suggest it could be a game changer. The quality and realism of the videos it generates are apparently amazing. But there's a catch.
What's that?
It's expected to cost around 50 cents per second of generated video.
Wow, that's not cheap.
No, it's not. So it seems like it'll be targeted more towards professional and commercial use, at least initially.
Okay, so we're seeing lots of progress in AI video for everyday users, but the really high-end stuff might still be out of reach for most people.
Yeah, that seems to be the case for now.
Now, shifting gears a bit, the research also talks about another interesting trend, the rise of AI for builders.
Ah, yes, the era of the builder, as some are calling it. It's all about empowering creators with AI-powered tools. And we're seeing this across two main categories.
What are those?
Well, the first one is agentic IEs.
IDs?
Yeah, integrated development environments. These are basically coding environments with an AI copilot built in.
So it's like having an AI assistant helping you write code.
Exactly. They can do things like automatically detect bugs, offer intelligent code suggestions, and even generate entire blocks of code based on your specifications.
That's incredible.
It is. It's like having a super-powered coding buddy right there in your IDE. And one of the leading examples of this is Cursoric. It debuted at number 41 in the web rankings. And it's already being used by hundreds of thousands of developers.
So it's really catching on.
It is. It seems like developers are really embracing these AI-powered coding assistants.
And the second category is for a much broader audience, right?
That's right. The second category is text-to-web app platforms. So these are designed for anyone, whether you have technical skills or not. Some are calling these users vibe coders.
Vibe coders.
Yeah, because they're all about turning their ideas and vibes into real working websites or apps.
That's a great term. So how do these platforms work?
Well, you basically input a text description of the website or app you have in mind, and the AI does the rest. It generates a functional version based on your description. It can feel pretty magical.
That sounds like a game changer.
It really is. It's democratizing web development. Now anyone with an idea can bring it to life online.
So what's making this possible?
Well, there have been some big advances in AI's ability to generate code. And web frameworks have become much more sophisticated. Plus, there's this huge ecosystem of software libraries and development kits, SDKs, that AI can use to assemble these websites and apps quickly and reliably.
So are there any platforms in this space that are particularly noteworthy?
Yeah, there are a couple that are worth mentioning.
Okay.
Bolt, for example, debuted at number 48 in the web rankings. and Lovable is on the brink list. Bolt reported an impressive $20 million in annualized revenue and 2 million registered users in just 2 months.
Wow. And Lovable reached $17 million in annualized revenue in 3 months. That's incredible growth.
It is. It really shows the demand for these tools.
So how does the usage of these text-to-web platforms compare to the agentic IDEs that developers are using?
Well, right now, the agentic IDEs have more monthly unique visitors on the web, but both categories are growing at a similar rate, which is interesting. It's like you've got these two parallel tracks, one catering to a more specialized technical audience, and the other targeting a much broader audience of anyone with an idea for a website or app. And there's some overlap too. Some developers are using both types of tools. For example, the data shows that about 23% of Bolt's unique visitors in January also visited Cursor.
So some developers are using text-to-web platforms to quickly prototype ideas.
Exactly, before they dive into the more detailed coding in their ID.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a great way to quickly visualize a concept and see if it's worth pursuing further.
Right.
Now let's talk about something else that the research highlights, the relationship between mobile app usage and monetization.
Ah, yes, the age-old question. Does having a lot of users actually translate into revenue?
And what does the research say?
Well, it turns out that it's not always a direct correlation. To even crack the top 50 apps by usage, an app needed over 8 million monthly active users.
That's a lot of users.
It is, but here's the thing. Only about 40% of those top 50 most used apps were also in the top 50 for mobile subscription revenue.
So a lot of apps with fewer users are actually making more money.
Exactly. It's not just about having a huge audience. It's about having the right audience and offering something that people are willing to pay for.
So can you give us some examples of app categories where this is really noticeable?
Sure. Take photo and video editing apps, for example. The top 3 by usage were VivoCut Filmora and Beat.ly, but the top 3 by revenue were Splice Captions and VideoLeap. So it seems like apps with broader appeal tend to get more users. But apps with more specialized paid features are better at converting users into paying customers.
So it's about finding a niche and catering to it really well.
Exactly. And then there are some app categories that rank high for revenue, but don't even have any apps in the top 50 for usage.
Like what?
Well, things like plant identification apps, nutrition tracking apps, language learning platforms, music creation tools, and even dictation and transcription services, they're all doing really well in terms of revenue. But they don't have huge user bases. And that's because they're serving specific needs. People are willing to pay for apps that help them achieve specific goals or learn new skills.
So there's a lot of opportunity in these niche markets.
Definitely.
Now, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, something that the research found that was a bit surprising. The prevalence of ChatGPT copycat apps.
Ah, yes, those pesky copycats. They're still out there.
And they're still making money.
Sadly, yes. They accounted for about 12% of both the top mobile usage and revenue charts. And they're using the same old tricks, mimicking the ChatGPT name and logo to try and deceive users, often promising lower prices or extra features that don't really exist.
And they keep changing their app store listings to avoid being caught.
Exactly. It's a constant cat-and-mouse game.
So it's a reminder to be cautious.
Always. Don't be fooled by these imitations. Stick to the official ChatGPT app.
Good advice. So taking a step back and looking at the big picture, what are the key takeaways from all of this research on consumer-facing AI?
Well, the main takeaway, I think, is that AI-native products are evolving at an incredible pace. They're scaling faster than we've ever seen, and they're engaging users in new and deeper ways.
It's a really exciting time to be following this space.
It is. But we're still in the early stages. There's so much more to come. And I think this research makes it clear that AI is going to be a fundamental building block for many of the most successful companies of the future. The race is on to shape the future of AI, and it's only going to get more intense from here.
It's been a fascinating deep dive. Thanks for sharing your insights.
My pleasure. It's always great to talk about this stuff.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to encourage everyone listening to share this episode with anyone you think might find it interesting. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. We're exploring all sorts of fascinating topics.
We are, and we'd love for you to join us on the journey.
Now, as we've seen, the world of AI is moving incredibly fast, and there are so many different approaches to monetizing these new AI applications. So here's a question for you to ponder.
Okay, I'm listening.
What unmet consumer needs do you think the next wave of AI applications will address, and how will they achieve both widespread adoption and sustainable revenue? It's a challenge for all the innovators out there.
It is a big challenge, but I have a feeling we're going to see some pretty amazing solutions emerge.
I agree. I can't wait to see what the future holds for AI.
Me neither. It's going to be an exciting ride.
Until next time.
See you then.